Hey everybody, it's GauntletX, and welcome back to some more Magic Arena, and today we're going to be playing another Premier Draft of Wilds of Eldraine. Without further ado, we're going to get into our Pick 1 Pack 1, which is High Fae Negotiator. 5 mana, 3/5 flyer, and if you bargain away an artifact, enchantment, or token when you cast it, you get to drain each opponent for 3 life. So that is a 6 life point swing where you gain 3 and they lose 3. So a great way to stabilize. Super high toughness, and it has flying, so it's an excellent late game blocker that gains you a few life when you play it. And it's also a great way to finish your opponent off because it's an evasive flyer. It's hard for them to block, and it's dealing 3 the turn it hits the board. So really great in pretty much any position. The only flaw is that you need 5 mana, and that's a flaw for any 5-drop. So very happy to start with a High Fae Negotiator here. If that weren't in the pack, I'm a pretty solid fan of the Minstrosity 2 mana 3/1 that gives you a food when it dies for bargaining away, and Voracious Vermin that gives you a rat when it comes into play. These green uncommons are pretty solid too. Drawing a card when you play auras, or just giving green a removal spell it doesn't usually get. So those are pretty solid, but definitely High Fae Negotiator is number 1 there. For pick 2, Tough Cookie is definitely the best card in the pack. This thing is pretty absurd. You can curve out with it on turn 2, just play a 2 mana 2/2, and if your opponent doesn't play their own 2 mana 2/2 blocker, and you're on the play, then on turn 3 you can just activate the food and hit your opponent for like 6 immediately. So you can play it super aggro like that. You can also just top deck it in the late game, and you've basically drawn 2 creatures off the 1 card if they can't kill your Tough Cookie. Super sweet card, and even if they immediately blow up your Tough Cookie, it's one of these cards like the Minstrosity, like the Sweet Tooth Witch, that gives you that value of giving you that extra token when it hits the board. So even if it dies immediately, you got some extra work done with it. So very big fan of Tough Cookie. That's easily the pick here. If it weren't in the pack, Princess Takes Flight is a really fun card where you want to bargain it away before you hit Chapter 3, so you can turn it into a really powerful removal spell. So that would probably be the pick there. Pick 3 now, and I do not know what people are taking. I guess people just really don't want to play white here, I guess. Passing the Werefox Bodyguard, but that card is pretty insane. It's actually fierce competition for High Fae Negotiator, though, because they're not insanely far off in power level, and we already have 1 High Fae Negotiator, so getting a second and locking in on these negotiators feels pretty great. Then we're passing a massive white signal to the left, so we probably want to stay out of that color, at least in pack 2, because then these players will be passing back to me, and these players should be on white if we pass a Werefox Bodyguard. But pack 3, if it stays super open, we could still go for it. I think with the first High Fae Negotiator, I'm going to take another Negotiator over the Werefox Bodyguard, so this is going to be an astronomically late Werefox Bodyguard, and somebody's going to be super happy to see that. Pack 1, pick 4, take a Sweet Tooth Witch. Just really make sure that we have the bargain fodder for these High Fae Negotiators, and that we're cutting black out of the pack here to get the Negotiators going. Feels great to me. Tempting Apple's a solid finisher for anything aggressive. Edgewall Pack's a great bargain fodder producer as well, but that's an off-color one, so we take the on-color Sweet Tooth Witch. Those are my top 3, Witch, Tempting Apple, Edgewall Pack. Johann is powerful, but very off-color. And that's kind of it. Nothing really great in the pack. Pack 1, pick 5. Not seeing a lot of green here. Not so sure how well the Tough Cookie is going to pan out for us, so we could speculate towards another color, because Return from the Wilds can be okay in green-black, because we can like ramp up, get our 1/1, and then sack the 1/1 to bargain a Negotiator out. But I really like Redcap Thief, and this would be super nice for red-black bargain with these High Fae Negotiators. I think I'm going to take Redcap Thief over the Return from the Wilds. Another reason that we're passing up on Return from the Wilds, just the lack of green we've been seeing so far. So I don't want to try to like grasp onto mediocre green cards for my life. If I don't see any more solid green getting passed, I'm just going to probably give up on the Tough Cookie, since that was our pick 2. That does not mean green's open at all. For pick 6, we will take a Fairy Dream Thief, just a lot of great value for just 1 mana. It hits the board, it's a 1/1 flyer to put some rolls onto, it surveils 1 to set up your draws, and whenever it finally does die, you get to draw another card off of it. So a lot of little stuff that adds up into being great value, so we'll take it over Sweet Tooth Witch for that reason. Solid red cards again, but garbage in green. Also an okay white spell with the Courtier, but these other two are pretty poop. Alright, pick 7, still a tempting apple for everybody. Everybody aggressive, I should say. There's been a lot of tempting apples just opened up in this draft pod, which is kind of funny. I do not like Ashiok's Reaper really at all. We have no rolls yet anyway, even if it was good. We do not have the synergies for it. We do have 3 fairies, so maybe blue-black fairies with Into the Fey Court is a thing we could do. But I think it's between Hearth Elemental and Ariette's Tempting Apple here, really. I don't think we're that aggro for the apple. Let's take the Hearth Elemental for the great value play. Even if you don't have any instants or sorceries in your grave when you do this thing, it's still great as the last spell in your hand. Ditch your hand, draw 2 more cards, and have this sitting there on an adventure for when you run out of stuff. Witch's Mark is fine. Gives you a roll to bargain away and gives you a little bit of card draw. But Stopgap's pretty solid in blue. I think that's worth the speculation. But even if I would rather not end up in blue here. Alright, nothing great. Take the Frantic Firebolt if we end up in an instant and sorcery heavy deck. It can be a fine removal spell, but it's never super exciting unless you're blue-red. Grand Ballgest is super exciting with 2 cards that enable it on turn 3 already. 2 cards that are 2 permanents off 1 spell. Grand Ballgest could be good at celebrating for us. Now I can take a Gnawing Crescendo in case we get a really rat-heavy deck that can get a super wide board state to get a bunch of extra power off the Crescendo. And let's just keep red cards out of players' hands here, I think. See what we open up in pack 2. Booty, but basically we get a red cap thief and that's about it. Best card here is Tenacious Tome Seeker by quite a lot. I guess actually Shrouded Shepherd's pretty good too, but obviously both of these are quite off color. I think I just take a red cap thief to go with the Grand Ballgast and the bargain cards like High Fae Negotiator. Imodane is a pretty sad rare, basically a 4-mana 4/4. If you draft a million copies of super high damage burn spells, then maybe once or twice in the game you'll get some extra damage out of her, but it is a rarity. Rather just take a more consistent card like Red Cap Thief. Okay, pack 2, pick 2, Easy Candy Grapple. Tremendously efficient removal spell. Busted card. Voracious Vermin and Flick a Coin would also be great for this deck. Two-Headed Hunter would be fine. But Candy Grapple is the number 1, and we just hope to wheel one of those other cards. Get our 3rd copy of High Fae Negotiator, alright. The Red Cap Thief into High Fae Negotiator curve is a dream. We can either play the Negotiator on turn 4 off of the treasure token, or on turn 5 guarantee that we have the bargain fodder by having that treasure sitting around. So I'm going to take the Negotiator. If we can wheel one of these Flick a Coins, that would be incredible. Because Flick a Coin looks excellent in this deck too. Oh my god, or we just open a million copies and we get to take this one over basically just a Ginger Brute. Alright, Barrow Naughty does look really good in this deck because we have Fairy Dream Thief and Triple Negotiator. We're definitely a fairy-centric black-red deck where getting a 2-mana 1/3 flying lifelinker is a great deal. Basically, if this card consistently has lifelink, it's very good, and if it doesn't, it's pretty mediocre. I think in our deck it's consistent enough with 4 other fairies already, and if we just draft duplicates of it, they'll buff each other. So I'm actually going to take the Barrow Naughty over the Grand Ballgast here, but I think both are appealing for this deck. Alright, pack 2, pick 6. We can grab another Grand Ballgast. I do not hate the Edgewall in here either. I don't think we're going to be splashing in a 3rd color at all, but this still fixes us between black and red mana, and then it can sacrifice itself to pick up our Hearth Elemental or something. But I'm just going to take the Grand Ballgast here. Our curve's looking pretty slow. Love to take the 2-mana aggro dork. Pack 2, pick 7. We get an Embereth Veteran now. Solid little 1-drop. Add that to the deck. I don't hate Merry Bards either, but Veteran's certainly better. Act 2, pick 8. Not Dead After All is kind of interesting for this deck. Now, we can't bargain a creature unless we're casting it. So we can't, like, re-up and enter the battlefield effect on a High Fae Negotiator, but we can with a Sweet Tooth Witch or a Red Cap Thief. And we can still get this back as a 4/6 flyer, so I don't hate the Not Dead After All here as a filler spell for the deck. And now we'll just rare draft the highest rarity card for Vault Progress when there's nothing on color. Nothing on color, so let's rare draft that uncommon again. And I'm guessing we're probably just done getting black or red cards until pack 3 at this point, but that's alright. We just need to find 5 more playables. We will end up with some filler if I only get 5 more playables. We'll have like a Fell Horseman in here, but I put it back in from the sideboard. Usually I just insta-cut this thing, but it's actually okay filler for this deck, again, because of just having powerful 5-drops like the Triple Negotiator to potentially resurrect with it. So, yeah, right now we've got a Horseman, a Gnawing Crescendo, a Firebolt, a Not Dead After All. That might be a little narrow, a little filler here, but at the end of the day, if those are the worst cards in our deck, that's not horrific. All right, pack 3, pick 1. What have we got? Another Grand Ball Guest, a Scream Puff, but I've already got 3 better 5-drops. So it's really the Grand Ball Guest for my 4th 2-mana creature, or a Monstrous Rage for a super efficient combat trick. Don't know that I'm getting into a whole ton of combats to use combat tricks, really, because, I mean, Horseman's really not doing much combat, Red Cap Thief isn't, Barrow Naughty's in the sky, so it's not. Got a couple cards Monstrous Rage would be incredible on, but a lot that might not even be doing the combat. I feel like I'm only getting one of these at this rate. I still think Monstrous Rage is just an incredibly efficient card, so I'm going to take it, but I could see it going poorly for me if I don't end up finding a lot of other cheap creatures. It might not be the most impressive trick ever. So the more consistent pick would just be take a Grand Ball Guest. It's going to be fine in the deck no matter what. But Monstrous Rage, taking that, we're taking a card that could be incredible in the deck, but might be bad. So more variance in that pick, but I'll still do it. I still don't really like our removal, and Torch the Tower and Stone Splitter Bolt are excellent removal spells. I think I'll take the Torch the Tower for just that raw efficiency there. Getting the Scry as well is super nice. Try to play that over Frantic Firebolt or Gnawing Crescendo here, actually, since we are not super creature heavy, not super wide board states. But yeah, we'll take the Torch. And now another Flick a Coin, because there's no like 1 or 2 mana creatures. I think I'd take a 1 or 2 mana creature over Flick a Coin, but not one of these 4-drops. There's a 1 or 2 mana creature. Get another Fairy Dream Thief into the deck. That also makes the Barrow Naughty better. Sweet Tooth Witch is fine with the double Grand Ball Guest. That's cute too. I guess, I mean, I've got double Red Cap Thief, double Flick a Coin, Sweet Tooth Witch. We're doing okay on bargain stuff, but Triple Negotiator is a lot of bargain. So Sweet Tooth Witch synergizes well with the Grand Ball Guest and the High Fae Negotiators. I like the Dream Thief a lot too, but maybe a turn 3 Celebration Enabler plus Bargain Enabler is enough to take over Dream Thief. Oh, I clicked, oh. I was going to take the Sweet Tooth Witch there, but my brain kind of farted there. Instead of clicking that and then confirm pick, I just clicked confirm pick. I don't think it's terrible to take Dream Thief there. I just think that I convinced myself into the Sweet Tooth Witch in the end. But it works out fine for us because we get Red Cap Thief here, which is basically going to do what Sweet Tooth Witch is doing for this deck. Anyway. Yep, and yeah, now we take the 3-drop over the 1-drop here. The Thief over the Spear Guard. That works out fine. Alright. I don't love Somnophage here, but it's a 2-drop. There needs to be a creature in the graveyard to play it. That's the really awkward part. It's not really a 2-drop, but I'll still take it. Shadow the Oath is good removal, but it's 5 mana, so it's pretty slow, and I have been saying a lot how I'm looking for more 2-drop creatures. Ratcatcher Train is a 2-drop creature and more bargain fodder if we play Pest Problem instead. So Ratcatcher looks really ideal for this deck. It's also more celebration for Grand Ball Guest. We'll happily play a Merry Bards at 4 mana for this deck. Evolving Wilds for an island going to be worth it for the Somnophage, or we just end up cutting the Somnophage? I think we're more likely to just end up cutting the Somnophage here, just treat that as a rare draft. But I'm not going to play a Kindled Heroism or a Scream Puff in a deck that has 3 good 5-drops already. I guess we get an Evolving Wilds and a Prophetic Prism, because I'm not going to play double Not Dead after all. Well, am I not? Yeah, I'll take the Not Dead after all, because I'm definitely not going to do Evolving Wilds, Prism, Somnophage. It's just cute to think about it. Still probably not playing 2 copies of Not Dead after all, but if there are any of our non-creature spells that are really, really bad in this deck, Not Dead after all is just going to be okay filler to replace them. Alright, so what have we got going on? First of all, let me favorite the non-style for the 50 millionth time so that it takes off the Parallax card style from the Flick-a-Coin. But now we only need to cut 3 cards. So, we're at 17 creatures. It's pretty much exactly perfect, but I think I drop a Horseman here. Anyway, because I never want to play that as a 4-mana 4/4 without picking something up with Deathly Ride, so it's just basically another 6-drop. It's like pick up a Negotiate and then cast a 3/3 kind of play. It's, I guess, okay for the deck, because we are going to be running 17 lands, so I don't have to play Crescendo when I don't have a super wide board, and probably so I don't have to play Frantic Firebolt either. You know what? Maybe just a super slow Horseman is fine here. We just play 1 copy of Not Dead after all. No Crescendo. I want to say no Firebolt, but we might be low enough on removal that Firebolt is still okay. I mean, Firebolt, on average, is just going to be a really expensive Torch the Tower. It's going to be a Torch the Tower that costs 3 times as much. I mean, basically, our last card just comes down to Horseman or Firebolt, and I don't think either are great for the deck. I feel low enough on removal, we can try the Firebolt stuff out here. We've also got a little bit of cycling with the double Flick-a-Coin to draw us another card. So that fills our grave a little bit. Maybe we stoke Genius a little early. Get extra stuff in there for the Firebolt. Probably not, but yeah. Looks pretty cute. Looks pretty decent. I think we're going to call it a deck here. Alright, here's a look at our final deck list for today. We are on a black-red, somewhat of an aggro deck here. A lot of bargaining going on for the primary mechanics, so we've got a lot of food tokens, treasure tokens to produce that we can then bargain away on our High Fae Negotiators, our big kind of finishers here, the 3/5 flyer that drains our opponent for 3 life when it hits the board. Some solid removal to back everything up with a Torch the Tower, a Candy Grapple, a Firebolt, and some Flick-a-Coins, and a little fairy sub-theme with our Barrow Naughty potentially as a nice life-linking, fire-breathing threat. So, pretty decent deck today. Pretty interesting for red-black. Not your basic just black-red rats pure aggro deck. More of a mid-rangey, grindy deck with some good flyers going on with a fairy sub-theme. But still looks like some pretty good stuff, so excited to see how it does as we head into the gameplay. Here we are on the play for game number 1. It's a very solid hand. We're curving out with Fairy Dream Thief into Ballgast into Redcap Thief, which looks pretty beautiful. I'm going to mill land number 4 because we're going to have a treasure token sitting behind at the minimum. And we draw into a 5th land, so we're really happy with that mill. Playing against a green deck. Usually a bit slower, but some big ways to stabilize. With a lot of food tokens off cards like Tough Cookie and potential Hamlet Glutton style cards that help a lot too. Alright, Redcap Thief giving us the Torch the Tower mana here is excellent, so we're holding up Torch the Tower against their Tough Cookie if they try to buff it or anything. but I do want to ideally just leave this treasure behind, because we can still kill the tough cookie on our next turn after we untap. If I don't draw into anything else anyway, then I'm not doing anything that turn, so I might as well save the treasure and just use my lands to kill the cookie. Unless I really think they're just going to eat the tough cookie. I guess that would be the one instance in which it would be better to just kill it before they untap by sacking our treasure token. But I highly doubt that. They're at the point of the game they want to be blocking pretty well. Alright, so they're going to cast Return from the Wilds. I guess what could happen is if they don't have any good cheap spells in hand, one thing that could have been a potential issue is if they just pass the turn holding up the 3, and then they just use the 3 to activate a food as a 4/4, so that they have a 4/4 blocker being held up. But luckily they did have a solid 3-drop to play there. So we are going to go ahead and torch the tough cookie, save the candy grapple for something bigger, and we're 1 land away from playing a High Fey Negotiator with the bargain. I could have just slammed it down without bargain here, but I like getting the cookie out of here and just getting damage in. If they play something small enough to candy grapple without bargaining, probably happily do that during their end step, just so no matter what we draw into, we just slam down a 3/5 flyer next turn. Tempest Heart is not big enough to grapple without bargaining, so I'm just going to let it stay. I guess if I top deck a basic, it would be better to sack the treasure, grapple the heart, and then tap out for High Fey Negotiator off the basics. But if I draw a non-land, being able to like attack in plus grapple and save the treasure does feel decently valuable. We do draw into a non-land. It's a solid one too. Yeah, I think we go for the grapple on blocks. And then I get to hold the flick a coin up, which is probably just going to flick their face and replace the treasure that I spend on it. Okay, block the ball guest. Grapple the Tempest Heart. They're down to 7. They're going to scry with a Crystal Grotto. They've got all kinds of colors available. Green, white, blue, and now any color off the Crystal Grotto. Torch the tower on the ball guest. Off of the Crystal Grotto. They are straight 5 color over there. I mean, we haven't seen a black spell, but that's the 4th color we've seen from them. Another food from the bakery raid from their Hollow Scavenger. So they're just going to start eating a bunch of food. Just pure gluttony over there at this point. That's going to keep them in the game for a long time, which is an issue. Cycle our flick a coin. Find a Monstrous Rage, which I really don't mind. Speaking of things I don't mind, Mary Bard's Monstrous Rage for the turn. Then I still have that game plan of hit basic land number 5, we drop a Negotiator. This time we just bargain a Young Hero roll or a Monster roll. Make our Fairy Dream Thief a Young Hero, because it threatens to become a 4/4 over the course of the next few turns. Do I just insta-Monstrous Rage here? I guess I could also just keep it. Because it's not like I threaten lethal, right? I would hit them for 7, but they gain 3, so they're at essentially 9. Ooh, Horned Lock Whale. That I dislike a lot. Top or bottom? Probably put that thing on the bottom. That is very sad. Well, now let's Monstrous Rage then. Just because I'm angry. I just want to represent my feelings through my gameplay here. No, we get to put them to 1 because they're tapped out eating the food, and now they have really rough decisions of holding up mana to eat food or play some blockers here. Putting them to 1 is actually a massive deal. And the Red Cap Thief will still be like a bigger attacker on the follow-up turn as well, if they don't just blow it up. It's now a 3/4 trample, and that trample is very important. All right, the Hollow Scavenger comes down. Hollow Scavenger eat a food looks like the probable game plan here. So Scavenger blocks the Merry Bards. They gain 3 off of a food. They take 3 from Red Cap Thief. They go to 1 life. I think that is their only option here. They don't have the mana to block Merry Bards with Hollow Scavenger and buff the Scavenger. Or block Red Cap Thief and buff the Scavenger. Because they have to eat the food too. Ooh. I guess if they use Obira's Attendants, they don't have to eat the food. But it's essentially the exact same as if they did, so not that fancy. It does look fancy. But I suppose this way they get to keep all that food for later. It's definitely a thing. Alright, eat a food to go to 4. Okay. Looks pretty likely it's eat a food, go to 7, but who knows at this point. They've had a lot of instant speed interaction. Maybe there's going to be some more. Succumb to the cold to tap both our dorks. Alright. Drop the Red Cap Thief. Move from there. We've had several turns this game where basic would literally just be insta-lethal. So I would be pretty disappointed if they do manage to stabilize from here. But it is starting to look not impossible. Starting to look like a possible outcome of this game. So they still have 6 life of food tokens over there. Alright, those are Obira's Attendants, which I cannot attack into. They are tapped out, so I can guarantee the Firebolt on the Attendants. Poke for 2. Or I can guarantee the Negotiator, drain them for 3, put them to 1. And then save the Firebolt. I feel like it's put them to 1 here. Again, they will have 2 food tokens, but we'll have 4 attackers next turn by doing this, and we can just clear out a blocker next turn for our 4 attackers. They can gain up to 7 life if they spend 4 mana on both of their food. There is the natural red source now. Transmuter to curse our Negotiator. But if they don't eat any food, then even a 1/1 can kill them. If tapped out of blue mana, they'd have to use Crystal Grotto towards a counterspell at this point, and it would have to be exactly Spell Stutter. Because Disdainful Stroke counters 4 mana value or better, and Ice Out only requires double blue, so they can't cast that with a single blue mana. So things are looking pretty great for us. We're looking like it's incredibly likely to resolve our Frantic Firebolt. Yeah, they might just main phase eat the food here. They block a 2/3, take 5 damage on board, which would survive, but one removal spell is enough to kill them. We do exact lethal here. Exactly 7, and that is going to close out game number 1. We are 1-0, heading into round 2. Here we are now for game 2. On the play, I think we dropped the Veteran turn 1. They're not tremendously likely to have a 1 mana play, so we can probably jam in for 2 damage by doing this instead of just 1. And then we'll just start working with the Dream Thief from there. And they do play a Crystal Grotto, so unless they have exactly Ginger Brute, no blockers there. And they do not have the Ginger Brutes. Let's poke for 2. Drop a Dream Thief, and we've got some interesting aggressive possibilities here. We see a Candy Grapple off the Surveil, so we'll keep that, but not dead after all, plus Embereth Veteran's kind of interesting. Because then I can put a Young Hero roll on the Dream Thief and turn Veteran into a 3/2. It's pretty cute. I think I should still just play Red Cap Thief for this turn for now, but it's an interesting option to consider as the game progresses. So jam in for 3, drop that Red Cap Thief. We've got the bargain fodder at the ready for Candy Grapple if we need it, and we get to hold up Not Dead After All off the treasure if they manage to blow up one of our creatures, but they're just going to cast a Greta, and that will be our Candy Grapple target. They'll get to keep their food, so it's not going to be like beautiful for us, but still solid. So I could Candy Grapple Not Dead After All Young Hero roll on the Dream Thief, but that would require sacking my treasure. I guess I've got to flick a coin to get a new one, and once I've cast the Candy Grapple, I have no other bargain cards in my hand anyway. It's probably just a little extra cutesy to go for the Not Dead After All trick right now. Like, it hits for 1 less damage this turn, but it sets up for more damage in the long run, because Veteran will hit for 3 next turn, Dream Thief will hit for 3 next turn, because we'd go Young Hero roll there, so Dream Thief hits for 2 right now. I'd just go from there. Okay. Find the Torch the Tower for the Werefox. That's pretty gross. Yeah, I think I'm just keeping Not Dead After All for if they manage to removal spell any of these, because at this rate, just jamming these things in is going to win us the game soon enough regardless. They're down to 5. Again, it's definitely cute that I could get a Young Hero roll onto the Dream Thief and a Wicked roll on the Veteran, but certainly not necessary. There's a Hamlet Glutton now that will definitely slow us down. Puts them up to 8. So let's flick the face, see what we draw into. Another land. Okay. Another land. Can attack with everybody, put them to 4 and lose the Red Cap Thief. Or I could just put a Young Hero roll on the Dream Thief, put them to 5, and keep Not Dead After All for the Dream Thief. I hit them for 1 less damage this way. But it stacks into more damage over time. with the Dream Thief getting bigger if they can't kill it. And if they can kill it, I can still have it come back as a 2/2 flyer. Unless they can exile it, which is a possibility. I think there's Fawnsbane Troll would exile it. And the double black, double colorless, uncommon removal spell also exiles. Alright, so they're going for big damage, just trying to outrace us here. Brave the Wilds, activate a Crystal Grotto, slam in for 9. Might be the thing. I mean, they have to have a blocker up or Redcap Thief kills them, because they take 3 from Dream Thief and 2 from Redcap Thief. So they can't be trying that hard to outrace us without playing another blocker. Okay, yeah, they're just going to pass the turn. Another land for us. It's very far from ideal, but Dream Thief might just be getting there regardless. Yeah. If they had removal in hand, they would have killed that Dream Thief by now, so they've got one last turn to draw into it. And they just don't find it. Just a single young hero Dream Thief gonna take us all the way to victory, and we are now 2-0 heading into Game 3. Here we are on the play for Game 3. The lack of a black source is definitely concerning, but you can go Ballgust into Flick a Coin. Got plays for a while. It's a Fairy Dream Thief from our opponent. We found a Flick a Coin target, and now we'll probably just Flick a Coin turn 2, especially drawing into a double black spell. Now we're going to need a Swamp and a Treasure to cast that. There's a Hopeful Vigil. Probably just Flick a Coin while they are tapped out. I don't love trading Ballgust for their 2/2, but it would be much better to do that now when I know they don't have tricks than trying to block during their turn. And they might just not block here in case we have an instant speed way to celebrate like the Ratcatcher trainee. And yeah, they're just not going to block, so that's fine. Kill that Dream Thief, draw a card, looking for swamps. Ooh, no. We have started with the mono red hand here with 1 black card. That only requires 1 black mana. Our next 3 draws were double black spell, black spell, black spell. So, really, really bad draws here. But as soon as we get a swamp, we unlock a lot of goodies. So there is that. Royal Roll onto the Vigilant Threat. So now it's a 3/3 Vigilance, which is quite annoying for our Ballgust. We do find the swamp here. I could play a Negotiator without bargaining off this treasure, but that's probably not great. I can Candy Grapple their 3/3 Vigilance. Or I can just play a Sweet Tooth Witch. I like the Sweet Tooth Witch here. Gives our Ballgust the celebration trigger, gets an attack in for the turn, and even if they decide that a trade is worth it, we can not dead after all to make the trade really in our favor. And they do not think a trade is worth it, which is fine. So, now that I have this food token from Sweet Tooth Witch, I will have bargain fodder for Negotiator. But if I use my treasure right now to cast like a Ballgust for the turn, then I don't know if I have double black next turn, so I think I just hold off here. I just hang out. And we'll spend the treasure if they play something I really need to immediately grapple, but otherwise we probably want to keep it to lock in that High Fae Negotiator next turn. Alright, there's a Cooped Up for the Sweet Tooth Witch. To jam in for 3, I'm guessing. Yep. Alright, pass turn. Cool. Find a Torch the Tower for their little dork. It's pretty good. Yep, I think we just do that locked-in High Fae Negotiator here. Drop this thing on the board, get that big life swing, and start jamming in for 3 every turn. Yeah. Would have loved to have drawn a swamp here, because then we could do this and still have the Not Dead After All up, and that would have been a really winning position, but they are a white deck, so their removal could very well just be more pacifisms and exile effects that Not Dead After All wouldn't even save the Negotiator from. Alright, there's an Air Yet. We get drained for 2 life every turn right now, and any of our creatures with auras on them, with their auras on them, can't attack them. Okay, so I can still Monstrous Rage just fine. Actually get drained for 3, right? Because they have Hopeful Vigil. Oh, it's specifically auras, so just 2, because of the Royal Roll and the Cooped Up. Okay. So if we can clear any of those out, then we want to. So if we can torch the tower there, 3/3 will do it, but I can't yet because I don't have the bargain fodder. I guess I could candy grapple it. And if we could sack the witch to something, we'll do that too. I think I'm just going to go for a Monstrous Rage kill on something here and just attack with everybody. Which means it's probably best... I wish I could play the Ball Guest here while still holding up Grapple. Well, not Grapple. I wish I could play the Ball Guest and still hold up Torch and Rage, or Torch and Not Dead After All. I think I'm going to hold up Monstrous Rage, Not Dead After All. Because I think like Monstrous Rage for extra damage, throwing that on the Negotiator and buffing the Ball Guest to be big enough to trade into their 3/3 looks really good. And then we can Not Dead After All when they try to trade the 3/3 off, because I imagine they don't block with Ariete here. Yeah, and this would be the one way that it doesn't work out. If they just don't block at all, then it would have been better to just hold up double red. So if they don't block at all... I guess I can't kill anything with Torch or Grapple. So we still Monstrous Rage. Maybe we just block and Not Dead After All on blocks here. They are down to 5, so this was still pretty significant. But they're going to drain us for 2 and gain 2 in the end step since we didn't kill the Ward Up creature. Trump Not Dead After All to really stay out of range of the drain here. We did get really punished for not holding up double red. That certainly would have went better against a no block play. Because by playing the Monstrous Rage, we get the bargain fodder for the Torch, and we could have killed the... Actually, no, hold up. I'm a doofus. I would have still had to pay Ward for the night. Torch the Tower is not uncounterable or anything. So I actually still wouldn't have been able to afford that because of the Ward. Okay, they're at 7 life. I can't trigger my Grand Ball Guests at all. But I have a Grapple and a Torch the Tower. So I can kill 2 of these creatures. There's definitely a way to kill them by killing 2 of these creatures. I guess if I kill everything but Ariete, then they die, right? Because a Wicked Roll dies, so they're at 6, actually. They take 4 in the sky and 2 from one of the guests. Yeah, let's kill everything but Ariete. So, Torch, Bargain, on the Knight, yes. Lose the Wicked Roll. Boom. Pay that Ward. And then keep a Flick a Coin, sure. And then Grapple, Basada, Night Attack all. No bargain. If I bargain, then they don't die. Alright. That is 3-0 now, I believe. Another just phenomenal start here to the deck, and I think that was some of our best draws that game. That was some nasty stuff. Big stuff from the Monstrous Rage, so thumbs up to that. We are indeed 3-0, no matter what, at least a 50-50 win rate today, but certainly trying to get at least one more win to be breaking even or better. All right, here we are now for game 4. No turn 2 play, but other than that, really nothing wrong with this hand. Let's get things going here. And I guess with the Dream Thief Surveil, we might help dig towards a 2-drop. If there's something that fits really poorly into the curve we just really don't want, we can ditch it. I think the only thing I'd really put in my grave, though, is probably just a land. Yeah, High Fae Negotiate, I think I still just keep with this, right? Because Red Cap Thief puts us at 4 mana. Because Sweet Tooth Witch gives us the bargain fodder to not have to bargain the treasure. Yeah, we literally just need to draw 1 land to cast a High Fae Negotiator at the top end of the curve eventually. Alright, there's a Candy Trail from our opponent. Pretty solid way to just set up your early couple turns in a slower deck. Just scry 2 turn 1, then gain a few life, draw a card next turn. Gives you a little bit of breathing room against more aggressive decks when you're on something pretty slow and dirtily. So I've played a few Candy Trails in my day. Alright. Now they're probably just spell stuttering whatever I cast here, which is pretty annoying because both of my 3-drops are pretty important. Maybe they'll just gain the life and draw the card off Candy Trail. One can hope. I think Sweet Tooth Witch is slightly more important than Red Cap Thief. Either way, I don't get to play High Fae Negotiator until turn 5 because I need to play both to get the bargain value. But I think Sweet Tooth Witch having the higher power means it's a better spell to resolve to just beat down while they're just countering and drawing off Candy Trail and stuff. So we use the Red Cap Thief for the counter baits. And they don't have the counter. We love to see that. I guess if they try to candy grapple our Red Cap Thief now, we can bring it back and get our treasure token back that we spend on saving it. Another Candy Trail, alright. This time they've got double blue up, so they could have the double blue counterspell, but they'd have to sacrifice the Candy Trail to do it, so it would be a 2-for-1 in our favor. Because you basically never want to bargain the Candy Trail. You don't draw the card off of it unless you sacrifice it to its own ability. So if you bargain away a Candy Trail, you are legitimately spending 2 cards on your bargain spell. You're spending your bargain counterspell and your card draw from Candy Trail to counter whatever it is. So if they have the ice out here for the Sweet Tooth Witch, we're pretty cool with it. I guess I should say we're chill with it. Alright, yeah, we get to cast Sweet Tooth Witch and still hold up Not Dead after all. That's definitely the turn. Do its post-combat here, though. Do like having the Flick coin as well. Replace our treasure token after we've used it. Alright, Sweet Tooth Witch resolves, and they are going to gain some more life off of that Candy Trail. This is what I mean by the Candy Trails just buying you some time, setting up your draws. They've counteracted every point of damage we've done so far. But this is a pretty slow start for an aggressive deck in this format. Our deck is a little slower and more mid-rangey than most. Alright, I will Not Dead after all that, so it's a 4-3 when it comes back, which will be really good. And then having 2 different food tokens is going to be excellent. I can throw 4 damage at them if they don't kill the Sweet Tooth Witch. They're just going to concede right there, yeah. A 4-3 Sweet Tooth Witch with 2 food tokens on the board is pretty scary. So, I mean, it did feel a little early to me, but I would not have been surprised if after, like, I resolved the bargained negotiator, and at that point I didn't even need to bargain away a food. I could just bargain a treasure or a wicked roll. Yeah, they were just in a real bad spot there, because this was going to really counteract all that life gain. 4, 5, 6, 7, 10 damage this turn, because the negotiator drain put them down to 11 with all this stuff on board and food to throw at them. They are over it. We are now 4-0, pretty much breaking even in the event, because I am at the point, since the season is over, the draft season pretty much, where I do own every basic rare in the set. So any packs that have a rare in it just give me 20 gems. So I'm getting 1,400 gems plus 3 packs, that's 60 more gems, so 1,460. If we drafted at least 2 rares, then that's 1,500 gems, and the event costs 1,500 gems. That's why I treat 4 wins as really the break-even point here. But still don't treat it as in the money, because I don't really care about any of the commons and uncommons. They aren't really value there. But breaking even is always nice. Hopefully we can get at least one more win, though. Start breaking into the money here as we move into round number 5. Here we are for game 5. Not a very keepable hand here with no black source for the 3 black spells, especially when 2 of them cost double black. I do have a flick a coin for 1 treasure. That is a lot to rely on here. We're going to take the mulligan. Keep this hand and really hope to draw that 3rd mana. I actually think just Dream Thief into Redcap Thief might be fine for the creature curve for now. Just ditch the 2nd Redcap Thief. Because Monstrous Rage is a huge trick for really cheap. And we do want a removal spell ideally. Yeah, I think that's probably fine. Just ditch one of the thieves here. Find a High Fae Negotiator for the top of the curve. And I do like seeing that. Another one? I gotta get rid of this one, because I can't sit here with 2 lands in hand and 2 5-drops in hand and expect to get anywhere. We really need to hit that 3rd land for the Redcap Thief. We do find it. Our opponent starts on double green. It's probably moderately greedy to just immediately Monstrous Rage the Dream Thief for extra damage, but I'm just gonna do it here. I don't think we're gonna find like a super great position to try to Monstrous Rage up a Redcap Thief to win a fight or something. And by just getting that out of the way immediately, our Firebolt goes up to dealing 3, and we don't have to try to fit it into the curve anywhere else. And a deck that has Vanguard and Tanglespan Lookout is very likely to have a lot of rolls in it, so I think I'm just going to spend this turn killing the Lookout before they potentially draw any cards off of it here. I guess I could just hold the mana up. The problem with that is if they have the trick that gives it hexproof, then they'll just blow me out. If they don't have that, then yeah, I can blow this up in response to them trying to put an aura on something. But I think it's just way safer to just do that now, because the hexproof trick would be a huge blowout. It's only 1 mana to cast it. It gives it hexproof and puts an aura onto it, so they would draw a card and counter my removal, and that would just be abysmally bad. Alright. The race is not favored for us right now, but High Fae Negotiator flips that right around as soon as that hits the board. And it is locked in to hit the board next turn. We've got the 5th mana for it off of the treasure token from Redcap Thief. We can bargain away the monster roll on the Dream Thief, or if we get a block here, bargain away a Wicked roll on a Redcap Thief. And I guess if we get Not Dead After All to resolve, then we'll have 2 treasure tokens, so I could also just bargain one of those. So looks like we are definitely relying on High Fae Negotiator to win the race for us, but it's not like they're in a color pair that can counter it or anything. We're just worried that they might have their own spell that might win the race in their favor, and that is actually the perfect removal spell here. That's super bad for us because it does not die. When it would die this turn, it gets exiled instead. Not Dead After All is not a replacement effect. It says when it dies, return it to the battlefield. So its death is getting replaced by an exile. So Not Dead After All will not trigger at all. So Torch the Tower, probably the worst removal spell we could have seen here. If they had Stone Splitter Bolt, Cut In, Witch Stalker Frenzy, any of that stuff, we would have been fine. But that one does get us pretty bad. Yeah, now if I want to cast High Fae Negotiator this turn, I do have to sack the monster roll. I guess I can play Grand Balgast and hold up the Not Dead After All. Also threatening to win the race. Gives us a better negotiator next turn. I mean, we'll have 4 power in the sky if I do this, and they'll be at 7. Problem is then we are tapped out. We don't have the Not Dead After All to like save the negotiator or anything. But they need a 5 damage removal spell to kill it. So they need Witch Stalker Frenzy now. That's the 5 damage red removal spell in the format. Alright. Let's go for it. I guess the one thing this is much worse against, and if I had thought of it, I probably would have went for the other line. But this is way worse against Flick a Coin. Because they might have a Flick a Coin, because we've just never had a 1 toughness creature for them to kill with a Flick a Coin anyway. But now we've reduced one of our creatures to 1 toughness. Alright. Things are looking good. They're down to 3. We're going to have 2 blockers up here, and we're at 9 life. If they have, like, Ariet's Tempting Apple, that might kill us because they steal one of our creatures and shoot us for another 3. That's about it. And I actually don't think that even kills us, right? They steal a Negotiator, but I can chump block it with a Dream Thief. So their best steal would be Grand Ballguest here. And then I chump block the Ballguest, take 3. They shoot me with the apple, I take another 3. I go to 3. It's a lot of 3s in that statement, but I do survive in Ariet's Tempting Apple. Now they have 1 more mana, so if they have Ariet's Tempting Apple and, like, Torch the Tower, I guess Ariet's Tempting Apple plus Monstrous Rage would kill us. Or if they have Twisted Fealty, the 3 mana Treason effect with a removal spell, that might get pretty close. It's got to be some kind of hasty nonsense to get them out of this one, because feels like we have, unless they have some food tokens coming out, it feels like we have enough power on this board to lock in the counterattack to kill them in the future. Feel like as long as I still have lethal on board, I don't cast Not Dead After All. I wait till they might try to like burn my negotiator or something. Plays worse against food. Glutton is food. Alright, well, we might get got by that play, because now they go to 1 instead of 0. Would have been exactly 0, because the Wicked Roll, right? We attack in with the Wicked Roll, they kill our creature with a Wicked Roll on it, and go to dead. But now if they have a combat trick for the Glutton, then we die instead. And top deck land, wow. I mean, this play was better against Witch Stalker Frenzy. And I guess probably just Witch Stalker Frenzy, right? We die to so many combat tricks now. The main thing that would kill us is if I attack with Negotiator and they have any combat trick in the book. They have Titanic Growth, they have Monstrous Rage, they have just put a roll on the Glutton, anything like that. It feels like we're less likely to die if we send in a Dream Thief and hold up Negotiator, because now we basically just die if they have Treason and another spell, because they don't even kill us with Treason. They Treason our Negotiator and we block it with Dream Thief and go to 2. They would have to steal our Negotiator to beat us down with and kill the Dream Thief. And we make sure we don't die against combat tricks by just blocking the Glutton. They would need 2 combat tricks to kill us here. because the big ones are like Titanic Growth, so it's at 10 power. They still only trample over for 5. If they play the double strike combat trick, they would trample over for 7, because they trample for 1 on their first strike damage and then 6 on the second strike. So this survives even the biggest combat tricks. We die to 2 combat tricks, but that's it. And then I obviously not dead after all the Negotiator to lock in that lethal for next turn. Oh my god, it's the Witch Stalker Frenzy. So they had the food and the Witch Stalker Frenzy? So either way I played, I get got. Because the whole point of what I was doing was playing around the Witch Stalker Frenzy to have Not Dead After All up. So if I had cast Not Dead After All on my 2/2, they would have just Witch Stalker Frenzied the 3/5 instead of playing the Glutton. But because I didn't Not Dead After All, they played the Glutton instead, unless they just now top-decked the Witch Stalker Frenzy. But if they had both the Glutton and the Witch Stalker Frenzy in our hand, we had no good line there. They had the exact right response to both. That turn that they got the Hamlet Glutton life gain to turn things around. That's so gross. And we just lose for it. All right. I mean, we got by the exact perfect cards there. We mentioned both of those when we talked about what we were playing around. And if they have both, we can't play around both at the same time. They just have the perfect counterplay to kill us regardless of our line. That turn that I didn't Not Dead After All the Grand Ball Guest. Here we are now for game 6 on the play. Excellent hand mana-wise. And a solid curve guest into Thief is the play to jam in for 3 on turn 3. Got our Hearth Elemental for the first time as the top end of our curve, which is pretty cool. Here's the Red Cap Thief, jamming with the 3/3 trample against a green-blue ramp deck with a turn 2 Root Rider Fawn. Another island for our opponent. They've got 4 mana up thanks to their Mana Dork. Tanglespan Lookout is the play with 1 mana up, and it is not auto-passing, so they have the Hexproof trick. That is absolutely disgusting. So I really can't attack in here, and even if I had removal, I could target the Lookout and they would respond by saving it and drawing a card. There are other 1 mana things they could have, but that feels the most likely when they cast a Tanglespan Lookout, because those cards are definitely heavily played together. Frantic Firebolt on the top. Yeah, I got 5 mana already. I don't need to, like, surveil into a land. I'll keep that. We do need to keep in mind their Hexproof trick here, but I don't think it's to the point where I just ditch a removal spell. Maybe it is, because Firebolt is pretty expensive. But I'll have plenty of mana. I mean, worst case scenario, I'll just discard it to Hearth Elemental anyway. Yeah, I guess it would have been... I probably should have just surveilled it. Since it's not even doing 3 damage, so even if they didn't have the Hexproof trick, it wouldn't be enough damage to kill anything on board here. I don't like that double blue they have up. Still feel like my only real play right now is the Negotiator, because Firebolt doesn't even threaten to kill anything. And even if it did, they could have Hexproof trick. I guess I could just pass the turn casting nothing, but it'll be a losing battle against a green-blue deck, because the longer the game goes on, the bigger their spells are going to get. They'll be outclassing mine for sure. Yeah. I mean, if the Negotiator gets countered, then Hearth Elemental will not, and we use that for solid card advantage. We gotta get them to expend their counterspells somehow. Ooh, no, they're gonna go for a Werefox roll to draw a card. And then free the Fae from the Picklock Prankster. Oh, wow. Pick up a Curse of the Werefox. I was gonna say, they might have double Royal Treatment in that deck, because it really seemed like they had Royal Treatment earlier. And they milled another. They really have the roll deck going. Now they have a Curse of the Werefox they can use to kill one of my creatures and draw another card off lookout. This is really gross. No Curse of the Werefox being cast yet, and I imagine the reason is they want to have a big enough creature to fight off our High Fae Negotiator, and now they do. So we are definitely at the point of just discarding the Firebolt to draw cards, see what we hit here. Next turn their play is definitely to Curse the Werefox, kill the Negotiator. They still have a green up for their hexproof trick. So Firebolt's just getting us nowhere. I should have just surveilled that thing. Alright. Torch the Tower is basically another Firebolt, because our Firebolt was 2 damage for 3 mana. This is 2 damage for 1. No Bargain is sad, but we'll still get to cast another Negotiator just to have another flyer, which is still a big deal. Put them to 9, pass the turn. And here is the Curse of the Werefox. Draw a card. Kill the Negotiator. Try to get them to tap out of any potential counter spells here by making them use the hexproof trick in their end step. We've got to get through it at some point, so I think just torching the Werefox in the end step looks fine to me. Okay, well, never mind. Because now they only have the 1 green mana up regardless, so they'll just do the hexproof trick. Draw the card. I guess that makes it so they theoretically can't turn the Prankster into a 2/4, which is a pretty large deal, because a 2/4 Prankster blocks the High Fae Negotiator forever, and High Fae Negotiators are only route to victory at this point, otherwise their stuff's just too big and they have drawn like 50 cards this game. So, yeah, I mean, I still kind of hate it, but it gets the royal treatment out of the way so that they can't turn the Prankster into a 2/4. Most obvious royal treatment in the history of mankind, but it's not like we can get around it when they have Root Rider Fawn 24/7. Gotta make them use it at some point. Drop the High Fae Negotiator now, and hope they eventually run out of auras, so Negotiator can attack past the Prankster. The hatching plans, so if they bargain that away, they'll draw another 3. Return from the wilds for land and a food. Food being a pretty large deal here. That is a whole extra turn for them to survive, at the worst. Now they start getting the Werefox in, because I do not have any solid blocks for it. Down to 18. More land for us, so we just send a Negotiator, drop our Hearth Elemental, and pass from there. Yep, eat the food, so we essentially deal 0 this turn. There's the Crystal Grotto for them to scry. Scry to the bottom. Ooh, into the Fey Court, draw 3, get another 1/1 down. With flying. This is the exact position we really didn't want to get into. Late game against the blue-green card advantage deck. They have drawn 10 more cards than us this game. 10 extra cards. Absolute insanity. I think the odds of them not having a role to put on the Prankster now are astronomically low. That is all it takes to stop our attacks. Just a Root Rider Fawn. 2 mana up still. And they just jam in. We trade our 4/5 for the 5/4. And they pass turn. Maybe we do get one more Negotiator attack in. They're just gonna chump. They could use their 1/1 to just buy them another turn if they want. But it takes 3 hits for Negotiator to kill them, and I can't imagine they don't have any food in the deck. There's gotta be at least a couple. And every single food token they hit buys them another turn as well. Probably our only bet at this point is that maybe they somehow mill themselves out. They're down to 13 cards. They have to draw the cards when they play auras. Wow, Obira plus Coven this turn. They also have to draw the cards when Hatching Plans dies, but I don't have anything in my deck that can blow up a Hatching Plans, so they can just make sure not to bargain it. They are going to bargain it, which is actually fair enough now. They just played like 3 threats this turn. 10 cards left. Yeah, pretty unlikely they mill out. But at this point, definitely our best bet. They have 4 flying blockers. The only way we really accomplish anything here. Well, that is pretty bad against like 10 open mana and 6 cards in hand. Definitely not a very good combat trick kind of matchup. Another return from the wilds for a human and a food to just buy infinite time. Hollow Scavenger for more food. Yet, the only way they're losing this game is if they mill themselves out. Candy Grapple the Negotiator. Well, 4/6 flyer's bigger than anything else I can get off of a not dead after all. Send in a champion, all the flyers. Probably multiple ground troops as well. Yeah, get a chunk of damage in here. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. Yeah, we're so dead. The only thing I can kill here is the Tanglespan Lookout, and I don't even want to kill it because it's one of my only hopes. Trying to mill them out. But they've still got 9 cards. They're at 6, but with 2 food tokens, they're essentially at 10. And they have 3 blockers up still. One of which can only block flyers, but that's fine. It just trumps Negotiator and stops the majority of my damage. Yeah, I mean, there's nothing we can do here. We'll just... Guess I'll just not kill the Lookout. Just send a message, but... Game is over. This is just not a match you want to turn into a long game, and our hand was pretty slow when it really turned into a long game, so... The game just kept getting farther and farther away from us. And we also just drew a lot of lands, statistically too, so that's not going to be helpful either. 4-2, heading into game 7. Here we are now on the play for game number 7. Pretty excellent opening hand. We've got a Ballgast, a Baronati, Negotiator at the top of the curve. Drop the Ballgast, and since we drew into a Dream Thief, we get to trigger Celebration on the Ballgast turn 3, off of just casting 2 fairies together. Probably Surveil into land 4, ideally. Definitely, with double Negotiator in the hand, we are looking for some lands. That is a land. We will certainly keep it. Let's get our Celebration trigger and jam in for 3. Next turn, we're just going to have to spend 3 mana on buffing the Baronati, but that's fine. And we do have our fingers pretty crossed that we hit a land right underneath this as well, to just start playing the big Negotiators in the sky. Because that's the issue with the Hearth Elemental, is we want to cast everything else before it, so if we don't hit a 5th land, that's like 3 cards stranded in the hand, even though I could technically cast Stoke Genius. You really basically never want to cast it till it's your final card. Ooh, cutting on the Baronati is exceptional here. Kill our lifelinker and buff the sellsword to be big enough to attack past our board. And then it attacks as a 4/4 next turn, which is super gross. Alright. Well, we did hit land 5 for Negotiator, which is very, very good. Things would have started going astronomically badly if we did not hit land 5 here. So let's get the Negotiators going. I think if they attack in here, we can't really afford to block, seeing as our Negotiator would die to Rat Out or Flick a Coin, or really any burn spell. Although it's just Witch Stalker Frenzy again, isn't it? Maybe Candy Grapple this time? Okay, it's Candy Grapple this time. Still pretty gross. 2 mana to kill our 5-drop. Alright, so we don't even get the option of trying to get the block in there. 12 life to 11. 3 spells left in their hand. If I hit for 3, I mean, they've got the food to eat. Or throw at us for 2. I think I'm still jamming. They are going to go ahead and eat the food here. They have any adventure creatures in their graveyard? They do not. So nothing to recur with the edge ball in. The fact that that edge ball in is on white has me very concerned because the highest win rate card, well, the highest win rate uncommon, I think it's just behind like Gruff Triplets, like the bomb rare. But basically, one of the best cards in the entire set is Imidane's Recruiter, which is a red creature with a white adventure. So I'm very concerned that they have that here. I mean, they almost definitely have it in their deck. But it could also be like Devouring Sugar Maw, that's what I was about to say. Which would also be horrendous. The big bomb rare here. How do I draw all 3 negotiators? I don't actually think I want a bunch of 5-drops right now. Anything for 4 mana or less would have been an ideal draw this turn. Because we cast that and Stoke. That negotiator's just so awkward. We're at 12 life. They could sack the 1/1 and throw the food at us with the witch. In which case, if I attack with these, I can't block that at all. I take 6, 7, 8. Blocked there, 9, or blocked there, 9, 10, 11. God, they get really close to killing me, but I'll have 2 blockers up. So they don't quite do it without some efficient removal as support. Hit them for 4, hit them for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 4 plus 7 is 11 damage. This makes them eat the food to not die in 2 swings. If we can survive. Oh, does not look like we can survive. Do they have Sugar Maw plus Recruiter? Okay, basically, Crescendo will do that. Just steal some games. Is this actually dead? Yeah, because the Menace is the best we can block, and we take... Actually... Hold up. Actually isn't quite dead. But we don't kill them on the crackback. I can go to 1. Yeah, I can go to 1, and then there's nothing in my deck that just deals 3 damage to them out of nowhere. Because I've already cast all my negotiators, and I don't have bargain fodder for them anyway. I mean, is there anything? I mean, we might as well play it out just in case, but I really don't think there is. If I could survive this attack and keep Negotiator, we could win, but I can't, because I have to block the Witch or the Sellsword. I have to block these 2 exactly, and no matter which ones I block, I lose Negotiator and Ballguest. And go to 1. And maybe they have Flick a Coin too, so it really doesn't matter. No, we do get a turn to try to deal an extra 3 to them. That's 1. 1 out of 3. I guess that's something. Double check the deck here. Is there any combination of cards? Monstrous Rage does it. Monstrous Rage is the only way to kill them. So to dig as many cards deep as possible, it would be Flick a Coin to draw 1, then Stoke Genius to draw 2 more, and we would still have the red source up because of the treasure token from Flick a Coin to cast the Monstrous Rage and kill them. Actually, no, Sweet Tooth Witch would also kill them, right? 4, 5, 6. I'd be 1 mana off from Sweet Tooth Witch killing them. If I cast Flick a Coin, if I cast Stoke Genius, I would also be 1 mana off. I'd Stoke Genius and have 4 mana up. I need 5 for the Witch to kill them. Okay, so it's literally... It's Monstrous Rage or bust. Alright. Mary Bards does not do it. Monstrous Rage. Nope. Okay. Well, I hate this record so much. This is my most despised record. I guess it doesn't matter. A 4-3 as a record is not bad. But I was going to say, I guess it's not exactly this record. I just hate undefeated into 3 losses. It is the most brutal feeling in the world. Doesn't matter how many wins I get. I know I'm breaking even. I'm doing good on value, but God, is it frustrating to go from undefeated into 3 losses in a row. It is the worst whirlwind you can feel. Here's another look at our deck. I think it was a very solid deck. I think 4-3 is probably about the average for it because our removal is a bit lacking, having like a Firebolt in here instead of like a Witchstalker Frenzy or something. And not dead after all. Certainly some more filler cards in the deck, a Mary Bards, but don't think the deck was as bad as it performed those last 3 games. I think we hit just some rough matchups, some rough draws. Hitting all 3 of our negotiators with somehow 0 bargain fodder when we've got a solid amount in the deck was gross, because they ended that game at 2 life if I attacked with everybody. So literally, if I could have just bargained 1 time, we would have won the game there. And just very, very similar things happening the other 2 losses, just some rough stuff there. I don't think there were any like super bad plays. I think we drafted pretty fine. Just kind of a mediocre draft run here in the end, and certainly the big flip from 4-0 into 4-3 is pretty nasty. But still, solid record overall, still going to give us basically our entire entry fee back with the 1,400 gems in 3 packs. So not a horrific way to end things off. But that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you're interested in seeing some more, you can like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.